Line, the official podcast of Missouri S&T Athletics. This episode presented by Missouri S&T Corporate Club member Super 8 by Wyndham Rolla. Again, want to thank them for their support of Missouri S&T Athletics and their membership in the minor corporate club. Patrick Murphy back with you again on this episode. We'll be talking with strength and conditioning coach David Edwards on the show today, but before we get into that conversation, if you could please take a moment, be a friend, tell a friend about this show as we look to continue to grow the audience of the show and help get the stories of our student athletes, coaches, staff, and alumni out to more and more people. So be sure to follow along and subscribe to the show wherever you may be listening. If you've missed any previous episodes, be sure to go over and catch up on all those. You can go to minorathletics.com under the Fan Zone tab. Look for the Inside the Mind podcast. All previous episodes are archived there, as well as links to all platforms where this show is available, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Deezer, as well as YouTube. Before we get into today's conversation, I want to take a quick moment, recap the last week of minor athletics. Softball was on their St. Louis swing over the weekend, taking on Lindenwood Saturday and Maryville Sunday. S&T dropped Saturday's doubleheader to the league-leading Lions 6-1 and 6-0 before battling Maryville Sunday, falling in extra innings in Game 1 on a walk-off single before bouncing back in Game 2 to win by score 5-3. Charlie Rowland picked up win number 8 of the season in that game with a complete game effort, allowed 3 runs on 5 hits, struck out 3, while Hannah Ancelatus and Bryn Wooldridge each went 2 for 4 in that game with a pair of RBIs, while Bailey Dropson drove in 2 with a double in the ball game. Minor baseball team was closing out the final leg of a 14-game homestand against Lewis over the weekend. Miners dropped the opener to the Flyers on Friday afternoon before bouncing back to split Saturday, taking Game 1 by score 3-2 before falling in the nightcap 7-3. Sunday, Miners are looking to even the series. Unfortunately, Lewis came out swinging, never looked back, went on to take that series finale Sunday and win the series 3-1. Top performances from baseball over the weekend. Cade Meyer picked up the win in Saturday's opener. The first 7-inning game went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs, struck out 4, while Elijah Gross picked up save number 2 of the season. Brady Voss had a go-ahead 2-run home run in that game after Garrett Weiner tripled off the batter's eye in center field. Weiner also hit safely in all 4 games over the weekend as well. Track and field was back in action. They were on the road for the first time in the outdoor season at the SBU Bearcat Invitational. The men's team got NCAA Division II provisional qualifying mark from Joseph Nickel and got first place finishes from Nathan Swadley and Hayes Petito Saturday, while the women's team had a pair of second place showings. Nickel hit a provisional mark, finishing second in the pole vault with a career best effort of 6 3/4. Did that on his second attempt. Swadley picked up a win in the shot put for the second straight event, recorded a mark of 55 6 1/2. Also had top 8 finishes in the hammer throw and the discus as well. Petito also captured the top spot, winning the 3,000 meter steeplechase, doing that in a time of 9:22:21 to win by a margin of 5 seconds. On the women's side, Jessica Rhodes highlighted the Miners' second place performances. Did so in the discus, hit a mark of 142.2, while Grace Geisler took home second in the 3,000 meter steeplechase in a time of 11:49.06. Rhodes also posted a 6th place outing in the hammer throw, first day of that event on Friday. If you want to catch up and read more about all the action that happened over the weekend, be sure to head over to minorathletics.com for full recaps and get the complete list of information and results from baseball, softball, and track and field over the course of last weekend. This week, the golf team is back in action. They are their final tune-up before the postseason begins. They're competing at The Mule, hosted by UCM this week. Miners were just outside the top 5 after 2 rounds of play yesterday. At the time we're recording this, Miners are currently in 6th place in the final round of competition. Baseball kicks off 9 of their next 10 games on the road when we're recording this. We're recording this on Tuesday. They'll be in action this evening against Missouri Southern before heading to Indianapolis this weekend for a 4-game GLVC series, while softball is back home this weekend against McKendree and Missouri St. Louis. Track and field also competing once again this weekend. They'll make this short trip up Highway 63, heading north to Jefferson City for the Blue Tiger Classic hosted by Lincoln University. We'll take a short break, step aside, be back on the other side with David Edwards on this episode of Inside the Mind, again presented by Super 8 by Wyndham Rolla. Episode of Inside the Mind presented by Super 8 by Wyndham Rolla. I want to thank them for their membership in the S&T Corporate Club and their support of minor athletics. Guest on the show this week was named the new strength and conditioning coach at Missouri S&T. Last summer was previously the strength and conditioning coordinator and head powerlifting coach at Missouri Valley College, where he also served as an adjunct professor in exercise science. Before his time at MVC, he held a similar role at McKendree University and coached 3 individuals to top 10 finishes at the USA Powerlifting Nationals in 2017. Also spent time on the strength and conditioning staff at Limestone, where he also served in a teaching role. He began his career in the industry at James Madison as a volunteer assistant with 5 of the Duke's programs, and also played baseball for JMU for 2 seasons. Native of Ocala, Florida, he's married to assistant athletic trainer Jenna Lee Edwards. Please welcome David Edwards to the show. Coach, thanks for stopping by, taking time out of your day. I know, off-season lifting programs are in full swing, along with making sure that everybody that in season's still getting after it. But how you doing? Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad to be here. Busy man, definitely, but it just happens to be this week with football starting up and everything with spring ball and baseball traveling today. Had a little bit of free time, so stopped on in.
I know free time is something that's kind of hard to come by in any of our lines of work, being in college athletics. So you definitely enjoy those slow days when they come around. How's your time been in Rolla so far? I know you got here last summer, started your duties mid-July last year. What's it been like so far?
I'm a big fan of Rolla. If you ask our kids talk about how small it is. They have no clue what small is. My last job, we were Missouri Valley College. We had a Walmart and an Applebee's, and that was about it. From there, I was at McKendree, in Lebanon, Illinois. They had no shopping, and it
kind of have to go to O'Fallon to really do anything.
Yeah,
right?
And it was a McDonald's and a DQ when it came to food. And then Gaffney, South Carolina, we had the outlet malls, and you would never have guessed that it actually had some size to the town, but it's a pretty much small living. So Rolla is a metropolis compared to what I've experienced.
Some big city living for you now that you're here in the 573. So that's cool. What was it about the position at Missouri S&T that kind of caught your eye? Was it kind of just fortunate circumstance? I know Jenna Lee, your wife, we had her on a previous episode back last month. You being a strength coach, her being an athletic trainer, was it just kind of the right opportunity for both of y'all to kind of come here?
Yeah, that had a lot to do with it. I'll be honest. We work in similar fields, but it's different enough that for us to be fortunate enough to have a position or work at the same college it's going to be few and far between. So that played into the decision. I was kind of ready to move on. I know we both were, but in my terms, I created everything that was at Valley, from the powerlifting program to strength and conditioning. So it was kind of like my baby, and I'd seen it grow to the point where it was sustainable on its own. And then the fact that working at McKendree, I knew the type of athletic programs that we had here at S&T, and it kind of fell into place. I mean, it seemed like a place I wanted to be by knowing what our coaches seem to care about and that kind of thing.
You mentioned, kind of helping build things from the ground up at Missouri Valley. Kind of walk us through what was that like. I know that you built, you basically built the weight room from scratch, designed everything, powerlifting and
Yep.
everything there. Just kind of walk us through what all that was like and kind of how you think that helped you develop in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great experience. They always say you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it, and that was definitely the case. Fortunately, everywhere I'd been before that, I had somebody to mentor me on those kind of things, or really just kind of teach me. There, it was completely on my own. Hey, here's what we need done, and here's the keys. Go drive the car, basically. So, I had, fortunately, when it came to planning the facility, I had some help from my. Actually, he's a former athlete of mine, turned assistant, turned best man at our wedding. Um, he helped with the design of the facility. I was fortunate enough to have 6,000 square feet to play with, which, if you know anything about indoor facilities, that is enormous,
Oh, yeah.
especially for a weight training facility. And we just kind of got to do whatever we wanted. From the building the program standpoint, and starting powerlifting, um, you know, I kind of had a little bit of experience with the powerlifting side when I was at Limestone. I ran a club, I guess would be the best way to put it. So starting that wasn't too hard. Creating a buy-in and trust from the coaching staff was probably the most difficult part because they had no idea. They had no idea what I did. They were just happy that they didn't have to do anything when it came to training athletes. So creating that culture was the hardest thing, but it didn't take long at all.
What is it about Missouri S&T that makes it such a special place to work at? You think, in your opinion?
That's tough. There's a ton of things to be very honest with you. First and foremost, the coaches. I think we have amazing coaches here. And I know that the last almost 2 years that they haven't had a strength coach. So what they've been able to do without having somebody in this role has been amazing. So we have a great foundation. Our coaches do a great job of discipline with our athletes and everything like that. And then we have amazing kids. I Jenny and I talk about it all the time. I may have, I could count on one hand how many headaches I have, and that's dealing with 400 plus athletes. That's incredible, unheard of. Our kids are smart, they're athletic, they work their butts off, both in the weight room and everything I ask from them. So um, it's I'm very happy. It's incredible, you know. And then administration has my back, and it seems to me like the coaches are bought in. The same thing I talked about at Valley, where they were, here's the keys, go. I've had no hit back from our coaches. Our coaches buy into everything that I have preached to them, and they're seeing the results. Our kids are, for the most part, injury free, and weight room numbers are going through the roof.
Yeah, I know. Just when football had their spring max day, just seeing some of the things that were getting posted, just massive numbers, just going up on bench, on squat, on power clean, everything else. That's always great to see, and across the board for every sport. I know we kind of already talked through your journey and kind of where you've been and what you've done, but we'll kind of take a step back. How did you kind of decide to get into the strength and conditioning industry? Were you always somebody, when back in your playing days, you were always in the weight room? Was it something that just kind of clicked? When you decided to get kind of started at James Madison, it's like, hey, this is what I want to do for a living.
Yeah, no, I definitely was not a weight room guy early on. As a matter of fact, in high school, my group of friends and I would get kicked out of the weight room at least once a week to have to go run because we didn't want to squat. I was that guy. But after high school, I was a little bit overweight, quality athlete, but a little bit a little bit soft. So I realized that I needed to get in the weight room and get stronger, and that helped change my body to becoming the athlete I wanted to be. But from there, it still wasn't really my thought. My whole thought was to be a pro baseball player. That was my entire goal from the time I graduated college, and really until the start of my senior year of college at JMU. High school until the start of my senior year at JMU. I was a business major. I failed out of the business school at JMU, and fortunately, things lined up for me to be a kinesiology major. Um, from there, my senior year we had to do, or maybe it was my junior year, we had to do a practicum and then an internship. Our practicum was essentially half a semester long type of deal. And I chose to do it with our football strength and conditioning department. Partly, I'll be honest with you, it was because I didn't want to go find somewhere to do it. Um, and that actually was the biggest thing. I thought I wanted to be a personal trainer after I changed to kinesiology. And then I fell in love with it. I realized that, wow, this is something I can see myself doing forever. So from there, I kind of interned with them. I volunteered with them until it turned into a job.
Um, is there a certain aspect of being a strength and conditioning coach that just really like is there just one area that kind of really stands out, gets your interest, like body physiology, like mechanics of everything, movement, stuff like that?
Yeah. So I do a lot of studying and reading and watching and stuff like that on those kind of things. I think the biggest thing for me, though, is either watching a kid get it, whether it's in the weight room or on the field or something like that, or when it starts to affect their performance. Either one of those things is like one of the reasons I'm in this field. The fact that, hey, they just see what I'm talking about in terms of mechanics in the weight room or on a sprint or a change of direction, or their body changes, composition changes the way they want it to, or they hit their first home run, or they're able to break a tackle that they've never been able to break, or they look behind them because they're out sprinting a guy that used to be just as fast as them. Um, those are the things that I like. Those make my days. Absolutely.
Talking about your playing days a little bit, what was your time like as a student athlete? I know you started out at the junior college level, went to Polk CC down in Florida, finished up at JMU. Just kind of tell what was your experience like as a student athlete, and how do you, having been one, do you think that allows you to kind of help relate better with your current group of student athletes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's tough. I think it's tough to relate to them on the academic side of things. Like I said, I wasn't super academically inclined because I didn't want to be. I was very intelligent, but I didn't put forth the effort because for one, I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player.
Sure. Yeah.
And two, I really didn't have a goal driven in terms of what academics could do for me. I wish I had of. Looking back on things, it would have made getting my master's degree easier and that kind of thing. But that being said, I had a lot of fun in sports and not so much fun in this classroom. So the knowing what I had to put in at time and effort into my craft, knowing what these kids go through, and then on top of it, have the class demands that they have. It impresses me. It's tough for me to understand from their side of things a little bit. So I do preach a lot of, hey, we got to do the little things to get better. But I know how hard they work already. So being able to do that and then turn around and go into class for 12 straight hours sometimes, it's incredible.
Do you still keep in touch with? Is there anybody at JMU that you still keep in touch with, and everything else, or as I know, there's our industry, everybody just kind of moves, from place to place, every couple of years. But is there anybody still at JMU that you keep in touch with or anything? Or
Not really. I did for a little while keep in touch with. I would guess you could call him my first mentor, Justin Jones. Um, but then he kind of got out of the college realm and started doing some private stuff and working for the government and that kind of thing. And then it became super classified and super secretive and that kind of thing. So we lost touch pretty quickly. He had some kids. I do check in on some guys from time to time that I worked with, or well, technically worked under. And then from an athlete standpoint, I am very bad at keeping up communication with people. So like any of the guys I played with, I probably haven't heard from in the last 6 or 7 years.
Um, I know you said one of your main goals was to try and play professionally. Were you able to continue your career after your time at JMU was up, or?
Yeah, unfortunately, not professionally. I actually ended up tearing my labrum my senior year. Had surgery after that summer, so I played pretty much 2/3 of the year with a torn labrum, and had plans to come back and try to play some independent ball or something like that. And the whole throwing process just wasn't working for me. So I stopped playing, and then I did some amateur adult leagues, fun leagues. I played actually in what is considered the second oldest league in America, the Shenandoah Valley League.
Okay.
So I played there for a year. The summer after I actually graduated, so it took me. I was one of those cool kids that took 5 years to graduate.
Nothing wrong with that. That's kind of almost a normal thing
Yeah,
here.
especially nowadays. So that my super senior year, I played there, all star there, home run derby competitor, and then I didn't play again competitively until I got to excuse me, McKendree. There's a league out of St. Louis, an adult league, and I played there for 2 years. Actually, our first year we won the championship, which was pretty cool. And then this past, I guess, really fall, there's a league in Springfield.
The Grip and Rip League.
Grip and Rip.
Yeah.
Yep. So I was a star in that one too.
Probably cross paths with my cousin. Then he's I forget which team he played for. I think he was who was the powder blue team this year? It was
To be honest with you, I don't know the names.
Yeah.
The only reason I know my name is because it was on our shirt every week.
yeah. Yeah, no. My cousin pitched at Missouri State, and I think he's been in that league for a couple of years. He was actually the MVP of that league, I think, 2 years ago.
Okay,
Clay Murphy.
Yep,
was his
I know
name.
exactly who that is. Yeah, one of the best sliders I have ever seen. I think I went 0 for 2 or 0 for 3 against him. But I didn't strike out, so I was happy about that. They were tough at bats. I mean, I was a little disappointed, no fastballs, but I get it. I hit 3 or 4 pretty much all year for my team. So, from his standpoint, why throw that guy a fastball?
Sure.
I get it.
That's awesome. You're probably playing in that league in St. Louis too. I know we have a couple of baseball alums from here that either play or played in that league. I think Zach Gronick, one of our guests on last week's show, um, pitched in that league for a period of time. I don't know if he still does or not, or if you might have crossed paths with him. But that's always kind of cool, still being able to go out and scratch that competitive itch and everything else.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. I wish I had prepared a little bit better for it. Definitely didn't get the arm in shape. Definitely didn't get the legs or lungs in shape. I'm pretty sure I was limping around the field most of the time. So I got to do something this summer to get myself ready if I plan on doing it again.
For sure, for sure. I know I asked Jenna Lee this question when we had her on the show. But how easy is it, or how tough is it to kind of have that separation between work and home time, considering you both work in the same industry of college athletics. You both kind of work crazy hours. Strength coach, you're normally here for a 6 a.m. lift. Her as a trainer, practices aren't sometimes getting done till 8, 9 o'clock at night. Just kind of how do you go about maintaining that balance and finding that line of work at work and home at home?
Yeah, I think we do an incredible job of it. We very rarely talk about work unless it's either something super pressing, or it's, hey, so and so did this. It was awesome. One of those kind of bragging on our kids
Sure,
type of
yeah.
deal. But I think we both do a very good job of being able to shut that off right away. I know personally, we have dogs. We have two huskies. One is a young pup that acts like he's 5 or 6 months old still. So having that, having the ability to just play with them, or sit down and relax, I think is something we're pretty good at too. Um, so being able to separate things for the most part is something we're very good at. I mean, me, I do tend to have to bring some of my work home just because of a programming standpoint. Like, I don't have time to sit down during the day and work on programs. And I know she'll have to bring some stuff home too, but we do a good job of when it's time to shut off work, we shut off work.
Um, I know being a strength and conditioning coach, it's kind of a unique role or anything, but there's also professional, lifting competitions like World's Strongest Man, professional powerlifting, the Olympics, the CrossFit Games. Do you keep up with any of that or?
Not as much as I used to. I know I competed in powerlifting when I first got into this field. So I used to be a huge powerlifting guy. Um, I started to get a lot more into Olympic lifting after I stopped competing, so I started to follow that a little bit more. And then actually, Jordan Fark, when I worked at McKendree, he did some strongman stuff. So we would watch some strongman and um, do some of the strongman training, and so I followed that a little bit. Um, I will follow strongman from time to time. I'm not super into it anymore. I'll turn on the CrossFit Games when I recognize it, because while I don't necessarily agree with some of the whole CrossFit concepts, the stuff that those athletes are able to put their bodies through is absolutely incredible. So just seeing how much a person's body can take is crazy to me.
I know. I kind of. I don't want to say I kind of stumbled across, but I kind of almost did. But I've kind of been following like Brian Shaw and kind of keeping an eye on the world of like World's Strongest Man and everything now, and kind of followed along with the competition last year. And again, to your point, seeing just what the human body is capable of. Just what those guys do. Being able to push a train on a turntable,
Yeah,
or
it's
or moving the Atlas stones, or throwing a 60-pound keg, 15 feet in the air.
telephone poles, any of it. Yeah, it's really incredible.
Yeah, it just kind of makes you think that the whole all man are created equal thing. It's kind of a just 7 foot 400 pounds versus 5'10", 220.
Yep.
It's kind of makes you think. What's your favorite lift to do, or what's your favorite workout to do?
Um, I'm still a squat guy. I absolutely love squat, whether it's for me personally or our athletes.
Even though you were somebody who ran away from it in high school.
It's ironic, right? Um, I I definitely never squatted. I was a bench only guy in high school. I am a huge proponent of squat. I love squat. That's my personal favorite for our athletes. I tell our athletes and our coaches and even recruits, we're going to be good at three things: squat, bench, and clean. Clean, and this is all from a technical standpoint. Yes, I want us to be strong and everything like that in those movements, but I want us to be proficient in those movements. And the reason the clean is because it's every sport revolves around hip extension and explosiveness. And if we can learn how to channel all of that, we're going to be athletic in everything we do. So for our athletes, I would say clean is my number one. For me personally, it's still squat, even though I mentally struggle with squat some days. So um, lately, it's been snatch. Believe it or not, I love snatching when it goes right.
Yeah.
Snatch for me, is hit or miss. Some days I can hit a new max. Some days I can't hit 80% of my old max. So it's technical, but it's one of those things where when it's working, it's a beautiful thing. When it's not, it's not a beautiful thing.
I know snatch is always that's always a tricky one to try and do, just because of just how quick and explosive you have to be in order to be able to move that weight the way you need to do it correctly. What's the most weight you've ever moved? But like, be it now or like in your powerlifting days, or
Yep. So personal best are 610 on squat, um, 650 on deadlift, 385 on bench. Now, none of those are competition weights. Those were actually, all of those were last year or the year before. Competition wise, I believe at 183, I squatted 485, bench 275, and deadlifted 565, I believe. And then I used to compete. I started out at 165 competing, and I believe it was 424, 245, and 520 something, give or take. Um, Clean 315, snatch 225.
it's all pretty respectable numbers there.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm going to teach kids to do it and I'm going to preach trying to get stronger and stuff like that, that's part of my job to kind of lead by example. I will say I'm not a big fan of training when kids are around because, I'm not trying to show them what I can do personally. I want all the attention to be on them. But I know that if I'm going to do things and I'm going to talk about the importance of being strong and being athletic and being able to do things correctly, it's partially my job to be able to do them as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Coach, appreciate you taking time out of your day to stop by and chat with us. Real interesting conversation that we had today. Hopefully you can enjoy the rest of your lighter day today, and we enjoy it and then get back to it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
Is head strength and conditioning coach David Edwards joining us here on this episode of Inside the Mind, again presented by Super 8 by Wyndham Rolla. That'll do it for this episode, and again, if you haven't already, please take a moment, be a friend, tell a friend about this show, subscribe if you haven't already, wherever you may follow along. If you missed any previous episodes, you can go find them under the Fan Zone tab at minorathletics.com. Look for the Inside the Mind podcast. All previous episodes are archived there, as well as links to all the platforms where this show is available. Thank you all for taking time out of your day to listen to us once again. We appreciate your support. We wouldn't be able to keep doing the show without you, and we have the numbers to show that. We're, just again recently passed 1,000 total plays of this show. So thank you all so much for following along with us. We look forward to seeing you help come out and cheer on the Miners this weekend and throughout the rest of the spring season. So until next time, cheers and go Miners.